When you need a place to sit, you can always buy one. But when you build it yourself, it means something different. Today I'm going to show you one way to build a solid wood bench using nothing but 2x4s, screws, nails, and a little bit of patience. My name is Nick Paleo, and you're watching Paleo's Outdoor World. So thanks for watching. I'll break down as best as I can what's taking place throughout the entire video. There's a lot that's going on, but it's really honestly a basic table. This is a 2x4 simple bench, really. It's made out of 2x4s. You'll see me using wood glue. I'll be using GRK wood fasteners. I'll also use framing nails, and I also use, that's about it. So yeah, screws, wood glue, and nails, and just 2x4s. That's all this bench is. Normally, this style of bench, I usually make a console table out of it, and this time I decided to make a bench. And it's actually for a client, and I'm selling this bench for $500, which is pretty crazy because all I paid for the supplies was close to about 100, maybe 120. But like the nails and the screws, I can use them on multiple projects. So what I'm doing is I'm getting all the 2x4s. I'm getting all of them. I'm running them through the table saw. That table saw you see there, I got lucky. I got it on Facebook Marketplace for $300, and at Lowe's it's going for over 700. So yeah, what I'm doing is I'm putting these 2x4s through the table saw, cutting off the ends of them. The factory finish is not the greatest, so I'm making them nice and flush the best I can. What I wish I would have done, and I don't do it in this on this bench, but I usually do it on the console tables that I build. I also run them through a planer, but I don't know why. I just decided not to do that for this bench. I thought maybe it'd be a little bit more of a rustic look, so I don't have to go that intense with planing them down. So this hay barn you see here, well, it was a hay barn. This is now my workshop, which is pretty nice. It used to be full of hay, and I use it for all my projects that I build for the property and just furniture that I'll build. Another Facebook Market purchase. This is a DeWalt table or a DeWalt chop saw or miter saw. I got this off Facebook Market as well. I paid $80 for this, and I don't know exactly how much they go for brand new, but I don't think they're $80. So what I'm doing now is I'm cutting the legs and the lengths of the bench into size, and I'll put in the description the exact measurements of I'll put all the measurements in the description so you can read it, but I'll let you know it's 72 inch in the length, 16 inch in the height, and 14 inch in the depth. And what I do is I stagger the pieces. So for the length, some of them are going to be 72 inches, and some of them are going to be 3.5 inches short on each end. So I'll put the exact measurements for when each one is, so it's easy for you if you want to build this yourself. And you can always look back at this. This is not a really how-to build video, but it's what takes place as I'm building it and what goes into it and what's taking place around the farm with the animals. It's kind of just like a peaceful video. That table that you see there that the chop saw is on, I also got from Facebook Market. And that table is actually, I got it for free. I just had to go get it. It was somewhere in Chicago. I had to drive and put it on my trailer and loaded it myself. And it's a humongous table, but You can't beat free. So it's probably about a week later, and I really took my time on this bench. I didn't want to rush it. So here I am, putting it all together now, and on the floor I'm assembling it so I can kind of see the layout of how it will look. So I appreciate you all watching. Let me know in the comments if you have any questions about this build. I answer all the questions I get in my comments, and I'll gladly answer them for you. Here I'm using the laser measure by Bosch. That thing is awesome. I'll do my best to put a link for my Amazon store on all the tools and equipment here that I use to make this thing possible. If you like, check it out. I do get a little commission from it, but yeah, I'll put the link in the description and you can check it out. So now I got all the pieces cut, and now I'm gonna work my way to the assembly area of the hay barn, aka my workshop. And actually, while I was doing this build, I had a live stream going. That there you can see my phone was pointed at the minis there. Sometimes I like to do live streams. It's good to meet people. It's good to get the channel out there so people can see what's going on, because we're still a pretty new channel, and it's a good way to get the channel out there. So yeah, now all the pieces are cut, and I'm bringing them over to the assembly area where I'm now going to put this this bench together. I keep calling it a table because this design, I usually make a table out of it, but this time I decided to make a bench. Well, I didn't decide. The client wanted it, and I said I could do it. So I'm doing it. It's a little tight, but you know what? It's nice that I got the space, so I'm going to use it for what it is. It's not the prettiest looking area. I mean, this hay barn has got to be 40, 50 years old, but I'm making the best of it. Where I'm actually standing, this used to be a horse stall, and what I did is on the floor there, as I'm standing on, I put pallets on the ground and I raised it up. This is the 21-degree framing nailer that I also use. This is the Type Bond 2 glue that I'll use. Not Type Bond 1, not Type Bond 3, but Type Bond 2. This is the roller I'll use to spread the glue. These are the GRK wood fasteners there. If you want to pause there, you can check it out, but I'll also put the link in there for all these things that you need. And yeah, not too hard of a table. You can honestly get this, sorry, I keep saying table, bench. It's not that hard of a bench, but you can get it done in about a week. I'm just commenting, replying back to people on that live stream. I got the computers in there so I can easily check it out, see how the live stream is going, and I can comment when I have to. So yeah, I'm just bringing everything over. I got the clamps. These are Jorgensen clamps. I got the DeWalt clamps, and they rock. So it's the next day here. That previous clip, it got kind of late. And what's annoying about working at nighttime is the bugs. With the lights on in the summertime, the bugs are relentless. That water had been in there for months, so I'm cleaning it out. I'm gonna put new water in because what I'm gonna do is use this water for the roller. You'll see what I do with the roller. That's how I put the glue on the 2x4s, and I put the roller back into the bowl of water, so so it doesn't what do you call it? It doesn't harden, and I can easily clean it each time. So here's my little workshop bench here, the little mini one. I put it together. That's actually a pallet. The tabletop is an actual pallet with just some legs, and that's how I made this table inside a horse stall in the hay barn. So I propped it up easily so I can clamp them down. Because if I had it just straight on the table, I wouldn't be able to clamp it easily. You'll see later what I mean by the clamping part. But this is the first layer, and I want to make sure everything is perfect. So I really take it slow here and make sure all the ends meet and everything matches up nice and tight. I put a little hole in that tight bond too. And I just, honestly, I'm just going to squish it out of the bottle. I'm not going to do it, I'm not going to put it into like a little bottle. I really should have just bought the smaller one, but I just put a little hole in there and it's easy to get it out. And then I'll then start rolling it, smoothing it out. I want to make sure there's good coverage. So this little roller here, it's actually a roller you use for commercial roofing. And I still have it from many years ago. Maybe if I can find this roller, I'll put a link for that as well. But I'll put a link for as many things as I can put a link for that will help you out the most to build this. But again, leave any comments. I'll comment on anything, any questions you may have. This is green treated, by the way. I don't think I mentioned that in the beginning, but this is green treated 2x4 because this bench is going to be outside. And yeah, so I figured green treated would be the better way to go. So the GRK fasteners comes with that little bit, which is pretty nice. All of them do. They come with a bit that matches the screw. So what I do is I don't put a bunch of screws, but I put a decent amount to make sure it's nice and tight and everything sits right. Because later I'm going to come back with the framing nailer and I'll put also 3-inch nails. I don't put it on this level now because the framing nail will go right through and I don't want it to pierce through the other side. So you want to make sure it's not too long of a nail because it'll pierce through the back. So this round I'm just going to do the screws and the glue. So what glue I do on every layer, I said round before, but layer I meant. So on this layer, just screws and glue, clamping it in. Once I have it in a good spot, and I'm just screwing it in. Not too many, again, just enough to keep it in its spot. Because the glue by itself, honestly, is enough to hold this together, but it'll shift around. So that's why I use the screws right now. It'll shift around before it hardens. So this is a pretty big bench, and there's gaps throughout. So I'm doing my best to get rid of those gaps. I don't care if there's some gaps, but I don't want them to be too extreme. It's a rustic, cool looking bench. And once it's painted or stained, I don't know what the customer is going to do. They did not want me to paint this myself. They wanted me to just leave it raw. But if I did paint it or stain it, it would have been a lot more money. Overall, this bench took me maybe a month to make just because I built actually 2 of these at the same time. I'm only showing you one build. Again, this is the Jorgensen clamp, and that's a DeWalt clamp. I got them both from, actually I got the DeWalt from Home Depot, the Jorgensen from Lowe's. Parallel clamp, pretty sure that's what it's called. So yeah, look at there. That's a pallet. If you look right at it, that's a pallet that everything's sitting on. I got a nice little station to put all my clamps. I put a little screw to hold my GRK fasteners that you see there. That's holding that little box of screws. And this is the horse stall. There used to be a hay net to the right there. I took that down, and now it's just an opening for me to go through. And I'm standing on a bunch of pallets. It used to be just mud down there. I raised it up about a foot. You can see at the entrance there. I raised it up about a foot, capped it off there to keep all the rocks in, leveled it out. I put pallets, leveled all that out, and I'm just standing on pallets with plywood. So yeah, that's the roller. I just took out of the water, cleaned it off. Each round I cleaned it off, each layer. And I just pretty much do the same thing over and over again. Now I'm just spreading the glue, get good coverage. It's really a simple bench. I do make, like I mentioned before, I make the exact same thing as a console table. I've sold about 60 of those, and I got to a point where I was selling them for about $500 to $600 a piece. And then my last two I built was $800 a piece, but they were pretty intense console tables. I made a YouTube short actually showing that finished product. Actually, I showed a bunch of the builds, but if you go to my shorts, you can see that console table that I'm talking about. If I can remember, I'll put a link to that YouTube short as well. So what I'm doing there with my hands, I'm making sure on both sides it's pretty flush. I'm making sure it's as flush as it can be. I mean, it's not going to be perfect, but I'll come back with it later on and do a deep sanding and really flatten everything out and smooth everything out so it's nice and smooth. Also the edges. You see Chuko the barn cat there to the right. She's always with me when I'm doing projects in the hay barn. She honestly never leaves my side. So what just happened there, I'm pretty sure I put the screw through and I hit another screw right below it, which can happen sometimes. So you got to remember kind of where you put the other screw prior, but not a big deal because they're just going to be covered anyways by the next piece of wood. And you know, these screws and the nails, they definitely help out, but the Type on 2 alone is strong enough to hold this thing together. And now on this layer, I'm going to start using nails to really give it some good structural support and strength. So you'll see me flipping it back and forth, back and forth. What I'm doing is like I'm looking for the best side to see which is going to sit the most flush, and on the outside, which is going to look the best. I don't want to have too many knots, and I don't want it to be a weird looking piece on the other side. So I know I'm going to sand it later, but now's the time. I got to see which side is going to be the best. So now I'm putting the glue on, and then I'm going to flip them over, and that'll be the better side. That's an Eggville hoodie that I'm wearing. If you live in Illinois near Cary, check out Eggville restaurant. That's my sister and brother-in-law's restaurant. You got to check it out. Great breakfast place. Breakfast and lunch. I think they're open till 3 or 2:30. Anyways, Eggville in Cary, Illinois. I honestly, I need a new apparel. I gotta get. I'm constantly wearing shorts and sweats. I have some jeans, but I gotta go shopping and get some a new getup in there. Remy's there to join me today. She's just chilling on the couch. That couch is in there in the main section of the hay barn, and she's always not always with me, but oftentimes she's there. So why I put the clamp like that on that angle, it really makes it nice and flush. So I'll put it like that, make it flush, screw it in, and then I keep moving them around. I got a bunch of clamps, but I don't have to put a ton. It's enough for that certain section. Because once I put the screw in, it then stays in place. Because these GRK screws, they are very strong. They might not look strong. They're really thin and little, but they're strong. And now for the structural support. Framing nails. Nothing stronger than that. So this piece was giving me a lot of problems, and you got to do what you got to do. I'm using 3 clamps on this one, and I really was messing around with this piece to get it sit flush, the best that I could, because then if I don't get it to sit nice and flush and good, I just got to sand more later. So I'm trying to avoid that now. And I just want to throw this out there. I am not a professional by any means. I just do this because it's fun, it's relaxing, make a little side money. I got the space, why not? I mean, there's way better woodworkers out there. I wouldn't even consider myself a woodworker, honestly. We got here Skipper chilling during a time lapse that I did here. Saved you the boredom. So it's just the same thing over and over again, and you're just staggering these 2x4s one after the other. And that's pretty much it. That's how it looks when it's put together. So I'm gonna just keep going with that, and yeah, just continue the process until I hit the depth that I'm aiming for. I think the client on this one wanted 14 inches. It's a peaceful night. A lot of bugs, but it's peaceful. All right, we're at the end. This is the last row. So I'm not going to put any screws or nails on this last row. It's just glue because I don't want it to have any marks on the front, and I don't want to have any nail marks or screw marks the front or back of this bench. I want it to look nice and clean. So I got to make sure here now I do a good amount of glue, and I make sure that I put a decent amount of clamps because it's going to end this way. And I got to make sure everything sits just right. But yeah, appreciate you guys all watching. It's a cool, a little bit of a lengthy video, but I hope this really helped you understand how these are built, what kind of goes into them. And if you want to build one of these, this is what, for me, this is what it takes. I just wish I also used the planer in the beginning. It would have all sat just that much better. And so please like, subscribe, leave a comment. Have any questions? I'm here to answer any questions you might have. All right, so now I've moved the bench into the main part of the hay barn. It sits on concrete right there, and I'm bringing it out with the tractor. Because what I'm going to do now is I'm actually going to sand the bench while the bench is sitting on the pallet forks there. It has a nice level base layer there for me to sand it on, or level ground. So I'm starting off here with 120. Actually, you know what? This is actually 60 grit. 60 or 50. Maybe it's 50. 50 grit belt sander. I'm really making sure this thing gets nice and level and flat. So you don't want to go too crazy with it, but I do a decent amount to make sure it all sits just right. I got my Milwaukee blower there. You see here I have a lot of Milwaukee tools. Mostly Milwaukee, some DeWalt. But I started out with Milwaukee a long time ago. I got all the batteries for it, and it just makes the most sense to use Milwaukee for me. After some time, the hydraulics lowers, so I have to raise it up again. So what I'm trying to do here, I don't want to put the bench on the rocks because it'll make bad marks. So what I did is I put the bench on a pallet, and I'm going to now move the tractor up so I can stand on the tractor so I can reach the top of it so I can sand that nice and level. Because if I put the bench down and try to use a belt sander sideways, it would not be easy. So if I'm up there, it's way easier for me to make sure it's nice and level. So I go ahead and I flipped it over, and I'm doing the same thing to the other side. Also 50 grit sandpaper. I'm pretty sure that's what it is. So now what I did is I took the bench, I flipped it over, and now I'm just doing the underside, the legs, and I'm really making this nice and level so that it sits flush on the ground. Again, trying to keep it off the rocks. I don't want to make any marks, or this is pine, it'll ding if you put it on rocks and use a sander at the same time. It'll make marks, and I don't know. I don't want to mess it up. And now I move to the orbital palm sander here. I'm starting with 120 grit, and I think I honestly finished at 120 grit here. So now what I'm doing with the sander, I'm going through the edges. I'm going all over this thing, making it nice and smooth, and making sure you don't get any splinters and edging all the edges up. I have the worst terminology for woodworking, obviously, but yeah, so I really appreciate you all watching this, and if you have any questions, again, leave a comment, and yeah, hope this was helpful. If you want to make a bench, this is how I do it. It's a simple solid wood bench. My name's Nick Paleo, and you have been watching Paleo's Outdoor World.